something that you had said, obviously pretty recently with the Derek Chauvin conviction, and you said that we shouldn't celebrate this conviction, and I absolutely agree with you. But I want to hear, what is your reason for saying that we shouldn't celebrate this?
His conviction had nothing to do with black justice. His conviction had everything to do with white capitalism. Derek Chauvin is in jail because the state of Minnesota couldn't afford to burn down a second time. Derek Chauvin was convicted for the same reason O.J. Simpson was acquitted. People say O.J. Simpson was acquitted because he was famous. No, he wasn't. Okay, he wasn't acquitted because he was rich. He was acquitted because L.A. had just burned 3 years prior during the Rodney King riots of 1992. And the state of California could not afford for Los Angeles County to burn down again 3 years later. OJ had to get acquitted in order to save the white man his money.
Okay. Now, I do think, and this is probably just the lawyer in me talking. I do think that the evidence was overwhelming, but I do understand that.
But the evidence was overwhelming for all of the police who have been brought before grand juries and cases and have gotten acquitted. I mean, look at Trayvon Martin's situation. So many of the cases, even when you look at Michael Brown's situation and all of the evidence, the overwhelming evidence there, but the cops still walked. This guy had to be convicted because not only was Minnesota going to burn, you had protesters in about 30 cities. The whole country was going to burn. And let me clarify, they were not concerned about the black protester. That's not the reason Chauvin was convicted. They were concerned about the white anarchist groups who are going to operate under the cover of the black protesters and be responsible for most of that damage. Most of the damage is done during these protests were not by black people. It was by the white anarchist groups who didn't care about George Floyd. They didn't care about Breonna Taylor. They didn't care about Ahmaud Arbery. They just wanted to destroy infrastructure because they don't believe in American capitalism. Right. They're the reasons Derek Chauvin got convicted. The government is in a recession. They're mailing out COVID checks. The last thing Joe Biden needed for his presidential legacy is to let America burn down in his first 3 months of office. This was all about politics. It had nothing to do with justice. Nothing to do with justice. And I'll prove it to you. None of the police responsible for these recent murders will be convicted. It's going to go right back to business as usual. And part of the reason for that is the president of the United States still refuses to speak up on behalf of black people against the police. And a big reason for that is he do not want to lose conservative Democrats or liberal Republicans. Joe Biden got a whole list of items that he wants to get passed. He wants to try to go down in history as one of the greatest presidents of all time. He won't be able to do that if he gets tough on police who kill black people, because killing black people is one of America's favorite cultural pastimes. If Crazy Joe messes with that, Crazy Joe may not go down in history the way he wants to.
I'll give you one of those two. I think the officer that shot Mr. Wright will probably be convicted. May not do much time. I think the one with Ma'Khia Bryant, I don't think he's even going to be charged. I think he's going to be cleared. So I'll give you 1 out of 2 on that one.
And the other piece, I'm glad you mentioned conviction, because
sentencing.
Absolutely.
What do you get sentenced to?
Because the conviction means nothing. How much time are you going to serve?
Right.
Okay. Chauvin can do 12 and a half. They said Chauvin can do as few as 12 and a half years. He has no record, no prior conventions. He could be home in 12.
And that,
I don't know how
that would be a huge failure. That would be infuriating if he did as little as 12 years.
Which, do you think that it's a possibility that once we understand sentencing at this point, we know that this conviction was a small victory, and we understand sentencing. Do you think sentencing will be affected by the fact that if he does get sentenced to a lesser sentence, there may be riots and insurrection? Right. We still may have unrest.
Possibly. But I really think black people have already sighed their relief at the conviction.
No, sir.
Oh, no.
No, sir.
Not the ones I know.
No,
I certainly haven't. And because I think most of us at this point, most understand that piece. I mean, we just saw this in Texas with I can't think of the officer's name, but with Botham Jean's murder, right? Where the officer got 10 years. This was an intentional act. She walks in, shoots him in his living room. She got 10 years. The family's hugging her. So I think at this point, most of us understand that the conviction, yeah, that's step one. How long is this person going to be in prison? Because ultimately, if officers know that they can act like this, they can act with impunity, and A, in most cases not be convicted, or B, still hold on to their pension, do a few years in jail, get out and restart their lives, it doesn't really do much. And so I think most of us at this point understand that that's the important piece. We have to see what these people are going to be serving and make sure that it's going to be a strong enough message, because otherwise it's just, like you said, business as usual.
Well, here's the other thing too. You have to also deal with the potential for appeal. Amber Geiger, Botham Jean's murderer, she is appealing her sentence next week. You understand? And so even with Derek Chauvin, that might be his strategy. Do a year, let everything calm down, do a year, and then go ahead and apply for your appeal. So there's going to be an appeal. Any police officer that is convicted, they're going to appeal. She's appealing. And of course, we didn't help that by the judge giving her a Bible and the brother giving her a hug and the jury talking about they feel sorry for her. They didn't turn her into the victim more than the man she murdered. You see, so that's part of that Willie Lynch, that post-traumatic slavery disease, that loving your slave master more than you love yourself mentality. You see, but here's the bigger issue that has to be asked of Black America. What are we going to do for ourselves without being provoked by racism? Because see, reacting to racism has been a career for a lot of these young Black activists. And I don't like it, because you only do something when white people piss you off. We should be doing things for ourselves proactively, irrespective of whether a Black person is murdered or not, irrespective of whether a Black person is brutalized by the police or not. We are not creating anything. I said it yesterday. If we're tired of racism, there's over a dozen cities for sale in America. The cheapest one is $250,000. Put your money together and let's go build our own city right here in the country. You can then get incorporated, have your own police, your own district attorney, your own fire department. You understand? Why aren't we moving to do that? Because Black people don't want to be free. Black people don't want to be liberated. Black people want to be accepted by white people.
And I think that kind of speaks to something that you said earlier, with the excuse me, with the inaugural National Black Revolutionary Political Convention. Too often we do the same thing. We do the same thing every presidential election. 18 months out, what are you going to do for us? We got to stop that. We need to be working right now